Good evening, everyone. Or good morning, depending on what time of day you're listening to this share. So, Parshas Pinchus discusses a continuation of last week where it says the story, and then it talks about a little bit more over here in this week's Parsha about the terrible incident where there was a man by the name of Zimri who had relations in public, I guess what we call the equivalent of the town square, with a non-Jewish woman. Her name was Cosby, not Bill, but Cosby. And although he had his own problems in that area, but that's not for now. So the Torah tells us that Pinchus went ahead and killed him. So in this week's Parshas Pinchus, the Torah discusses the fact that he was given a reward. Ironically, the reward, the covenant of peace, for doing an act of killing these two gentlemen. That's for another time. How does his actions warrant a covenant of peace? Murder is not peace. That's for another share. But the Torah tells us his lineage. It says that he was Pinchus, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron. Now, it already said that earlier. So why do we have to again discuss who his grandfather was when it already said it in last week's Parsha, just a few verses earlier? So Rashi brings that the people would criticize him and say, "You did this? You killed a prince of the Jewish people. You know who your grandfather was? Your grandfather was a man who fattened cows for idolatry." On the other side, right? His mother's father. So who are you to go ahead and do something like you're so special? Your grandfather fattened cows for idolatry. So the Torah says, don't think that this act of vengeance came from that one side. No, it came from the side of, he was Aaron's grandson. Aaron loved peace. He was Oyev Shalom, Beroidev Shalom. So his actions didn't come from the mother's side, it came from his father's side. So it was warranted what he did, because Aaron and Corin was a person that loved peace. So if his grandson would do something like that, so it came from that aspect and not from the other aspect. But what were they thinking? I mean, they knew who his other grandfather was. So what was the dialogue over here? So I heard an interesting insight from Rabbi Zweig in Miami Beach, and he said as follows. But they thought that maybe Pinchus had the smoker syndrome. A lot of times, the former smokers, they're the biggest anti-smokers, because they were smokers, they knew what it was like, so they couldn't deal with that type of behavior. It doesn't have to be smoking. It could be any bad meter that you have, or any bad thing that you have. When people see it, they see themselves in you. When they see you going through the same struggles, they feel that way also. But they don't care about you. They just care about, it's more a reminder of themselves and of their past life. The reformed smoker syndrome. So that's maybe possibly what was going on over here. They felt that maybe Pinchas' actions were not coming because of his love for the Jewish people and to stop the Jewish people's plague, but it came from like smoker syndrome. Maybe he had idolatry or adultery also, and sexual immorality in his own family, and therefore he couldn't deal with that, because not so much because it came about the plague, he just didn't want to be reminded of his past life. The Torah said no. Pinchas' actions could not come at all from Yisrael, from the idolatry and adultery that he might have gotten from that one grandfather. No, he was totally the descendant of Aaron and Corin, who was Oyev Shalom and Oyev Shalom. And this act that he did was only for one reason, was to stop the plague, and because of his love for the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.